All right, so now you've completed parts 1 through 4 of your CBA project, and now we're going to move on to the performance assessment. Make sure that you've read Chapter 7 before you begin this part. Everything you need to know is in Chapter 7, so make sure that you have your book handy when you start to create this part of the assignment also. So first thing you want to do, let us know, is it formative or summative? And then explain how you're going to use the assessment to inform your instructional practice. In the text, they talk about one kind of template that you can use. It's the RAFS template for English language arts. If you're doing 10th grade writing or grammar or English language arts, you might choose to follow that template, and that's fine. If not, then I want you to make sure that you include these 4 components in your part 5. So the first thing you're going to do is list the learning targets. Remember, the learning targets that you are concentrating on are these over here, the skill and the product. So you'll go back to your chart and you'll pull the skill and the product. This chart here, you should have written the skill and the product in student-friendly language. So you'll just cut and paste that here to part 5. So that's the learning target. Make sure that you let us know how long students will have to complete the assignment. Sometimes these performance tasks take quite a while. Sometimes they only take 15 or 20 minutes, so make sure you explain that. Make sure that you let us know where they get their resources. Remember, not all students have resources at home, and in order to enable all students to have an equal chance to succeed, we may need to supply some of those resources at the school for them. And then finally, what's your role in the assessment? Are you going to be a facilitator? Are you going to be a coach? Are you going to help with it in some way? So they talk about this in the text also. So make sure you think about, what are you going to be doing? Will you be monitoring the class? Will you be keeping the data records? What's your role? You want to make sure that you give us clear directions for your students. If your students are older students, then they will probably read the directions themselves. If they're not, you may be reading the directions to them. So make sure you make that clear as well. And then finally, you want to create a rubric for your assessment. Chapter 7 goes into rubrics in pretty great detail, I think. Make sure that you understand what makes a quality rubric, because you will be creating a rubric for your own assessment. Remember, there are different kinds of rubrics that you can choose. Holistic or analytic, and you want to think about what kind of a performance you have and which one will be best for that. Remember, you want to identify your criteria, and that would be these learning targets. And then you also want to make sure that you include a range of expertise. So you'll definitely have below standard, meet standard, and exceed standard. And what will that look like? Okay, so this is going to take some time, and that's why I have this part all by itself, because this is a little more involved than the other. Make sure that you create a good rubric using a quality task.